This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
You know, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it?
The government officials are warning Britons to brace themselves for the hottest day in the country's history, as in ever, coming on Monday and Tuesday, with temperatures set to hit a record 106 degrees Fahrenheit, and dire government warnings being issued after the Met Office issued an unprecedented red alert.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
The advice is to stay cool, kids, like the Fonz. Hey. Very topical 1970s reference there. I'm hip, I'm with it. The Met Office has said that people's lives could be at risk, as it indicated it is likely that a new UK record temperature could be set on Monday and Tuesday. But despite that government health officials' briefing, there is no public health reason to close schools or offices, apparently. Which is, stay at home, you're all going to die, or go to work, you layabouts. Meteorologists gave an 80% chance of the mercury topping the UK's record temperature of 101.7 degrees set in Cambridge in 2019. And the current heatwave is set to peak on Tuesday. Temperatures are going to climb over the weekend, and the Met Office has issued an unprecedented red warning for the south of England on Monday and Tuesday, and an amber warning for heat covering much of England and Wales from Sunday until Tuesday. Listeners in Glasgow will have their own weather. The Cabinet Office... I'll check on that. I'm curious. One moment, please. Aha! What? Well, it's raining tonight and raining tomorrow, but not raining on Monday or Tuesday. Glaswegians, get set. It's going to be 82 degrees. What? Wow. You're all going to melt. You'll have to peel a couple of layers off. The Cabinet Office Minister Kit Malthouse is to chair another meeting of the government's Cobra, or as Gordon Brown used to pronounce it, Cobra. That's how he used to say it. Used to rub my fur up the wrong way. Cobra, Gordon. A Cobra emergency meeting to discuss the impending heat-tastrophe. Bodger Johnson has sent his excuses as he is busy not running the country at the moment. He's out on his ear for having a party, and he's so contrite that he's having a party. Couldn't make it up. There is no shame position on his personality switch. Thousands of people could die in the searing heat if the proper precautions are not taken, experts warned ahead of the heatwave. 2 lesser heatwaves last year resulted in an estimated 1,600 excess deaths, according to official figures, which, under this administration, will be a good week. Only 1,600 extra deaths under your munificent rule this week, Bodge.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
A danger-to-life red warning for heat was issued for the first time, but government health officials yesterday insisted that there was no reason for schools or workplaces to close.
What?
Well, hang on a minute. There's a danger to life. Please go about your business as usual. Pick one. Which is it? Network Rail were advising passengers to only travel if absolutely necessary. Transport for London's advising passengers to only travel for essential journeys. Very hot temperatures can affect rails and overhead power lines and signalling equipment, and how much BO emanates from your fellow passengers. I'd wear a diving helmet if I were you. Meanwhile, a Conservative MP has claimed that people taking precautions during the heatwave are snowflakes and cowards. He forgot to say woke. The constantly caring Conservative Party. John Hayes, for it is he, suggested that the fear of the heat was everything wrong with modern Britain and the state in which we now live. Sir John Henry Hayes, CBE, a Brexiter, told Her Majesty's Daily Telegraph, "This is not a brave new world, but a cowardly new world where we live in a country which is frightened of the heat. It is not surprising that in snowflake Britain the snowflakes are melting. Funny, no?
No.
Thankfully, most of us are not snowflakes," he said. He said, the idea that we clamour for hot weather for most of the year and then shut down when it does heat up is indicative of the state in which we now live. Sir John has previously been described as a climate change sceptic and recently contributed to a report calling for climate change to be delayed, so you will not be surprised to learn that he was previously a government minister at the Climate Change Department.
Fabulous.
I mean, appoint people who are either unsuited to or ideologically opposed to the very department they're supposed to be running. It's also, what would Donald Trump do?
Oh, shut up!
Meanwhile, in a public information video released on Friday, Penny Endersby, out of the Met Office, said... She said, here in the UK, we're used to treating a hot spell as a chance to go and play in the sun. This is not that sort of weather, she said.
Warning, warning.
Our lifestyles and our infrastructure are not adapted to what's coming. Please treat the warnings we are putting out as seriously as you would a red or amber warning for wind or snow. Flakes. Right, I'll wipe up some texts and emails and such from last night. But first I must take this suspiciously keen caller. Wonder what they want. Let's find out. Peckham, hello, Jan.
Hi. Hi, Nick, how are you?
I'm great, mate.
The thing is, I've been going on, I've been praying for rain every night, nothing. The only thing is, I can't find no rain people.
Who are you praying to?
Obviously, my Heavenly Father up there is...
I think that was a song by AC/DC, wasn't it?
Rock and roll!
Yeah, praying to Heavenly Father. Oh, you dumped that, did you? Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, if we were on television, nobody would have raised an eyebrow. But we can't... You can say it on TV, but you can't say it on the radio. That's right out. Mother Nature is a very, very bad person, she said. She's praying for rain. Right. So God sat out the Holocaust, but he's going to make it rain for you. Is that what you're saying? I mean, really. I always go with your gut feeling and don't answer a call in the first 15 minutes of the show. J-Tech, these are messages from last night. J texts, I would like to know if the tragic Tories are the ones responsible for us GP nurses being abandoned by the Agenda for Change scheme, as well as decent maternity leave like in the NHS. We have to work our socks off for a pittance and have to pick up all the chronic diseases GPs no longer see to. No wonder they can't get any staff. I'd quit if I could, says Jay. Well, you should be glad you've got socks, Jay. Tom says, I was calling for Brexiter Rishi to be PM, but after discovering he made millions from the 2008 financial crash, I'm not, he said. Well, who do you select? I mean, you don't get to select, and yes, unless you're one of the Buffton Tuftons from Budley Salterton that are going to be selecting the next tier leader. Pick one. You know, just for your amusement. Have a little game. Dawn Tech, well, people have picked one. People have picked Fishy Sunak, and I suspect it's only because that they know him the best. I mean, you couldn't pick any of the other ones out of a lineup, could you? Don't know anything about them, other than Penny Mordaunt was in the Battle of Trafalgar or something like that. There's news about that too. Someone in the Navy is very, very upset about it. Dawn says, I'm so glad that you mentioned the fact that the news has changed dramatically. The Ukrainian situation is more important than people sweating in the UK. I'm fed up, says Dawn. Hey, Dawn.
Stop whining.
Yeah, the Ukrainian war is still going on. Anybody remotely interested in that anymore?
No.
Not really. That's yesterday's news. We want new news. People are going to be bored of the... I bet they are already. I bet you're bored of the stories about the weather, and it hasn't even happened yet. Stories about something that hasn't happened yet are boring before the event actually occurs. That's how fast we're moving. Sally says, I've just been dancing at a garden party. Dancing! Having a little dance. It was a little bubble of happiness for a few hours, and we didn't care about the heat, says Sally. Well, I wonder what the reason is for that.
Booze.
Joe texts, not Joe texts. Joe texts. I'm not a fan of Rishi Sunak. 2 points, though, all the through... Joe texts, I'm not a fan of Rishi Sunak. Have you heard? He says 2 points through all the scandals, love affairs, and giving contracts to each other. That makes no sense. I'm not a fan of Rishi Sunak, full stop. 2 points, comma, through all the scandals, love affairs, and giving contracts to each other, full stop. Does that make absolutely any sense at all?
No.
No. He says Sunak kept his head out of all that, though being silent is being complicit. Secondly, if all the cronies are hating him, that's a good sign for me. Yeah, whenever they say no, I think yes. Good point there, Joe texts. Love the sexalettes, by the way. John emails the most impressive person on the TV debate tonight was the host. What, the woke snowflake? According to the offshore billionaire right-wing press. Oh, they absolutely hate Channel 4 News. No! They can't stand anybody associated with it. It's because they deal in facts. You remember facts, don't you? Andrew says, maybe those working from home, not in air-conditioned offices, should have afternoon siestas. Well, you're going to be passing out whether you want to or not. Oh, I came into the building this evening. I mean, it's not that hot out there at the moment. It's about sort of 70 degrees, something like that. But it feels sticky. Sticky and icky.
Disgusting.
It's a little bit sticky and icky out there, but I can't imagine what it's going to be like on Monday and Tuesday because it's predicted in London to be 104 degrees. 104. And I'll translate it from Her Majesty's Fahrenheit into European Surrender Centigrade for all you EU fans. It's double it and add 32. So double 104 is 216, and plus 32 is 253. It's going to be 253 degrees centigrade in the middle of London next week. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Actually, yes. Yes, I can. I've decided not to come in. Actually, my flat is so cold and damp. Like ordinarily, it's it's complete misery. But while everybody else has been sweltering, oh, I can't sleep.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
I've actually been cold. Everybody should come over to my place. John emails them. Oh no, I read that. Andrew says, read that. I'm way ahead of schedule. Getting through the 16 pages of text and emails from last night. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Some nobody.
0345 6060 973. Rosalind texts, he's having a party at Chequers this weekend for his supporters, so he's probably busy making the sandwiches. I seriously doubt that. Would anybody want to eat a sandwich made by Bodger Johnson?
No.
Not really. No. And furthermore...
No.
I mean, if you were invited over for dinner, you'd bring your own food, wouldn't you? Paul says Liz Truss could not even find the door that she came through to deliver her keynote speech. That's right. She's just wandering around the room aimlessly. Like one of those robot vacuum cleaners.
Affirmative.
It bumps against the wall and eventually it'll find the door, but, it might take a couple of hours. They had another debate, which went sort of unremarked, but there was some pretty interesting stuff in there. This was a debate on Zoom. It was the one where Fishy Sunak was sitting in front of a sign that said, it had one of those QR codes, which looks like a spider has dipped itself in ink and then scrambled across the page. And it said, "Scan me to join the campaign." You can't even spell campaign. CAMPIAIGN. No, try again. Ready for Rishi! Exclamation mark. Oh, please. No, I'm not. Not now, not ever, never. So this is, what is this? This is Sky News. I'm surprised this didn't get more publicity. Spelling mistakes, bad internet connections and audio troubles as Tory leadership candidates take part in their first public hustings. This was before the TV debate that everyone's going on about. The final 2 leadership hopefuls will emerge by the end of next week and face a summer of hustings. Oh God, we got a summer of this.
Oh
no! The 5 remaining candidates attempting to become the Conservative Party's next leader have taken part in their first public hustings, a virtual proceedings which were far from slick. Fishy Sunak appeared at the event run by Conservative Home with a glaring spelling error over his shoulder. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss forgot to unmute herself before contributing. Yeah, that sounds like Liz Truss. That is a and I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Exeter, John.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Great, mate.
Good man. Nice to talk to you.
Is it?
You're about the last oasis of sanity.
The last oasis of sanity. Come on in and get some shade.
It's really strange, actually, because I've spoke to you now umpteen times.
Yeah. How many?
Umpteen. Plus 1.
Yeah.
Umpteen plus 2. But the first time, when I first rang the producer and I tried to get on, I said to him, are these people that really ring in? Are these like recorded people? Is this like fake news?
Is this real life or is it Memorex?
Affirmative.
Yeah. Are these robots?
Exactly. But is this real life or is this fantasy? Yeah. But then I also, what I didn't say, because it's a confession that I've only just got around to saying to you, is that I thought that you were a real weatherman.
Well, everyone's an expert now, John.
I used to tune in at 10 o'clock on a Friday night to hear your weather forecast.
Right.
And these days I sit there with a calculator and I'm like, he's got it all wrong.
All wrong. Again, I know. Foolish.
But also oh my God, this bogus, what is it, this leadership contest. Oh my God. I was going to say something that I thought was funny about it, but there's nothing funny to be said about it. It's cringeworthy.
Yeah, my toes are curling as we speak. There's nothing funny about it.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
No, we're all out of laughs. All right, thanks a lot, John, for whatever that was. I have no idea, and I don't think he does either. He just wanted to chat, just wanted to chit-chat. Tell him to call the speaking clock. What time is it? Later than you think. Fishy Sunak declared that his... OK, so they had this debate on Zoom, and one of the questions that they asked them was, right out of the blue, presumably, I mean, hopefully they didn't get the questions ahead of time, because what would be the point of that? They asked them, what is your biggest weakness?
Oh, no.
That's one of those evil questions that somebody asks you when you're vying for a job. What is your... I'll try it out on my glamorous assistant. What is your biggest weakness? An inability to answer that question. Now, grip onto something firm, because you're not going to like this. To the question, what is your biggest weakness? Fishy Sunak said his biggest weakness is striving too hard for perfection. Hey, Rishi. Try harder. Speaking at the UK's first Zoom leadership debate, the 5 remaining candidates, the fatuous 5, the candidates to succeed Bodger Johnson, which is not a very high bar, is it? Let's face it. I mean, you'd think that the number 10 cat could do it. They were asked the famous interview question that is almost never answered honestly, says the Super Soaraway Times. The former Chancellor told Conservative Home that he had a reputation for, quotes, working hard and getting across the details. No, you don't. He suggested he sometimes went too far. He said, I think you've got to make sure that you don't let perfect be the enemy of good, Sunak said. Oh, please. Being perfect is your biggest failure? Isn't that so totally Rishi?
Yes.
Isn't he an absolute dream?
No.
Liz Truss said that she she was sometimes eager, which is just like Liz Truss. She probably said it like that too. She said she was sometimes excessively over-enthusiastic and sometimes had to, quotes, rein myself in and try to do a bit less. Go ahead, Liz. Do less. We're begging you. Penny Mordaunt decided not to engage with the question. I wish I'd seen this now. She refused to engage with the question, saying that her weakness was Burmese cats because she had 4 of them. Yeah, and I bet they all served in the Navy too. Kemi Badenoch revealed that she threw her husband, the former Tory councillor Hamish Badenoch, off the list of prospective Conservative MPs when she ran the selection process because she, quotes, didn't think it would look good. So she thinks she's too honest, Fishy thinks he's too perfect, and the Brains Truss thinks she's too enthusiastic. Wow, it's a miracle with that lot in government for the past 12 years that we aren't in a better state, ain't it, Bodge? Meanwhile, one of Britain's most prolific political donors said that he might consider backing Badenoch's campaign. Jeremy Hosking, he's the fellow that supported Nigel Farage's Brexit party in 2019.
I'm a nutcase.
He's now considering disbanding Reclaim. You remember the Reclaim party, don't you?
We've got a few idiots in our party.
He's considering disbanding that and funding Badenoch instead. The financier said that Brexit was no longer a significant political issue, adding, the culture war is the new divide, and only Kemi can refresh the parts that other candidates cannot reach, which tells you everything you need to know about the Conservative Party. They left Brexit by the side of the road like a toddler's dropped ice cream, and are trying to distract it with tales about the boogie monster. Painful. So they're saying the quiet part out loud now. The war on woke. This phony woke nonsense, they're going to be ramping that up because they've got nothing else. Art the party of fiscal responsibility? I think not. The party of law and order?
No, 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 no.
What else is there? Rosalind says, he said, oh no, I read that. Paul says, the Liz Truss couldn't find the door. Like I said last night, hard to leave when you can't find the door.
Rock and roll!
Mike emails, it's amazing that during a heatwave that Frost has to give his opinions on the Tory election. You're talking about David Frost, that ineffectual melting candle. And his precious Brexit. Have they managed to find any positives about Brexit yet?
No.
No, not one single one.
I don't know anything.
That Third Reich swizzle stick, an entire person, the ghostly hat stand, whose job it is to find some positive about Brexit, he cannot do it. Let's check back in.
I don't know anything.
Still doesn't know anything. Pat tweets, I thought that Liz Truss was trying out a stand-up show for Edinburgh. Turns out it was her pitch to be the new boss. She said deliver more than Amazon. Good one, Pat. At the end, she struggled to find the door just as well. The rest are there to show it to her. Comedy gold. Yeah, funny, no? A little bit. What is that noise? I can hear like another radio station coming through somewhere in this studio. Why, and where, and how? Why, who, where, and how? Specifically, who? I want to deal out some justice. Someone is responsible for it. Because people come in here and they muck about with my buttons. Lorna texts, I've been in Spain for the past 2 weeks and I'm now in the south of France. It's been hitting 35 to 38 degrees every day, with today being the hottest, getting up to 41 degrees. And yet, the countries just carry on as normal. I've been keeping hydrated with with lots of wine and the occasional tequila.
Booze.
Well, that just makes good sense. Could you send me Carol's number, says Lorna.
No.
I'm sure she won't mind. I could call her up whilst I'm here and we could go out and get properly on it. I think she's beaten you already.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's, she's there already. Way ahead of you there, Lorna. 0345 6060 973. It's a good enough time to tell you that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
And we, in that podcast, we try to solve people's problems. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you're going to have to send it to us because we're not mind readers. Here's the address, nickandcarol@global.com, NICKANDCAROL @global.com, and be prepared for a certain amount of satisfaction. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Oh, look, it's 10:30. The news headlines on LBC with Dan Wilson.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Okie dokie.
Benny tweets, I think because the way the Tory MPs will vote Truss to get Rishi in, it should only be right for the Tory members to vote for Truss too, just to see the panic on everyone's face with her running against Starmer. I sort of get that. I think. Chrissy says, Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner would be for a formidable team in the general election. They'd chew up Tories and spit them out to win the election, says Chrissy. A little bit too much information there, Chrissy. Paul says the power in the UK resides with who can give the Conservative Party the biggest donation. Well, it's all about the money, honey. Preston. Hello, Paul.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Okay.
I've decided that, you know, this heat wave we're going to have?
No.
It has nothing to do with climate change or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the hot air that the Conservative candidates are coming out with.
All the what?
Hot air.
The what?
In other words, a load of crap.
The hot what?
Hot air.
Hotter?
HOTAIR.
Don't take that attitude with me. 0345 6060 973. I'm going to cart that up and use it frequently. Remember to send that to me, won't you?
Yeah.
HOTAIR.
Correct.
Steve texts, I'm glad you mentioned the leaves falling from the trees. I said the very same thing to our dog this week. He reckons the trees drop leaves to preserve the water during the unusually high temperatures, but I suggest the trees are shutting down because they know that we're in for the coldest winter ever. And let's face it, that's exactly what God would do during a cost of living and energy crisis. Which makes as much sense as anything else that's been on this show so far. 0345 6060 973. Tunbridge. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm tickled. Go ahead.
I am ready for the hot weather. I've continued to wear my long johns all the way through.
Ah.
So I'm going to be able to cope with it when it gets warm.
Yeah, I'm thinking of taking mine off.
Not yet.
Let's not get carried away. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's looking to be quite warm, although it's not bad here compared to the north of us, London and all the way up to Birmingham. Seems to be red on the map. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, well, I was out today, and the temperature said that it was 78 degrees. It didn't feel like that to me. It felt a little bit chilly. I am waiting with anticipation for the weather to come in on Monday and Tuesday. I am looking forward to it. But then I won't have anything to do. All I will have to do is to commute from my back door to the garden table, and that's where I'll be sitting for the entire day. Bring it on.
Most of the world lives in this temperature. I don't see why we have a problem with it.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, some of the world lives in this temperature all year round. Plus, it's more humid.
You go to South Africa, go to Australia, go to South America. It's all like this.
Right. Go to Taiwan, or not Taiwan, Thailand or Malaysia, places like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Taiwan would be fun at the moment.
Well, I bet. It's lovely this time of year, I hear. Yeah.
They love their scooters in Taiwan as well.
They do. That area of the map, the scooter menace. It's so loud there. It's like Bangkok, the loudest place I've ever been in my life, because everyone's either on a scooter or on one of those putt-putt boats, whatever they call them, with an engine that could tuk-tuks are the sort of bikes with hoods on, aren't they?
Oh,
it's like a bike pulling a hood. Yeah, the boats on the River Prio or whatever it's called. Oh my God, the racket! You couldn't open the hotel room. I mean, I asked for a room with a view over the river, but you couldn't open the room door to walk out onto your little balcony. A, because it was too blooming hot, and B, because it was too blooming noisy. I took one of them Bluetooth wireless speakers with me, but you couldn't hear a blooming thing over the racket coming from outside. Painful.
Yeah, that's a bit painful, isn't it?
Yeah.
You paid extra money to get the window,
extra money, correct. That's right. I might as well just set fire to that cash. All right, thanks a lot, Steve. The thing with merino wool underlayers, which I started wearing like a couple of winters ago, is once you start wearing them, very difficult to take them off because everything feels cold. I think your body gets used to being very warm all the time. And so I'm going to be consigned to wearing them for 11 months of the year from now on, like an old person. Orpington. Colin.
Hello.
Colin.
How are you doing?
All right, thanks.
I was just thinking about your sense of humour, actually, and I said to your producer, I phoned up apropos of nothing in particular, but when they say about the impending sort of heat that there is at the moment, and they're going to have Cobra are going to come in, and you can imagine like SEAL Team 6 and the SAS, and they're all going to be dispersed accordingly to make sure that everyone is protected from it.
That's right. Marc Francois will be leading the troops. They're going to shoot this weather.
Committee office briefing room A. That's all it is.
Yeah, I know. It's just a room. Yeah.
I know. But it sounds so dramatic when they say we've got a Cobra meeting. And it's so dramatic. But,
well, it is dramatic.
Anyway,
just because it's called after a room that the meetings take place in, don't mean that the meetings that take place in that room aren't very, very dramatic. A Cobra meeting, as Gordon Brown used to say. I believe I've mentioned that already. Yeah, good point there, Colin. Just a room. Relax, everybody. No big deal. The chief scientific advisor held a briefing on the biggest threat to our way of life, climate change. This wasn't in the Cobra room. This was in just an ordinary room. So you can completely ignore everything that he said on that subject. In a perfect display of how much the catastrophic clown parade vying to be our next dear leader actually care about this country, not one single one of them could be bothered to show up.
Oh, fabulous.
I mean, just keep that in mind. They're all banging on about how much they love Britain and wrapping themselves in the flag. And when it comes down to a meeting that would be vital for the future of this country, can't be bothered to show up. Giant brain Patrick Vallance said, to give 3 observational facts, the world is warmer than it was, the CO levels in the atmosphere are higher than they have ever been, and extreme weather events are more common than before all this happened. He said, that's what we face. And the aim of this briefing is to speak about the science, he said, to an audience of no one that could do anything about it. He might as well have been shouting into a paper bag. Sir Patrick's introduction was followed by presentations by fluid dynamicist Professor Stephen Belcher. I'm sorry, I apologise. He's a very serious person. Professor Stephen Belcher out of the Met Office, climatologist Professor Emily Schuckberg of Cambridge Zero, and geochemist Professor Gideon Henderson, chief scientific advisor to DEFRA, none of whose opinions beat random conspiracy theory nuts posting on Facebook that this is all fake news. The Donald Trump tendency that think that this has all been cooked up by the radical left to make us use less deodorant.
What do I know about it? All I know is what's on the internet.
Each expert presented slides on climate science and emissions and the impact that climate change will have on life in the United Kingdom, and the briefing lasted 55 minutes. We have less than an hour to save the world, and where were the fatuous 5? left in the race to be PM, out shooting video selfies of themselves and seeing how many flags they can get in shot. While the panel made no direct recommendations, Sir Patrick did emphasise that the world's governments needed to develop and implement policies around climate change. He said, "We've had 2.5 years of a global crisis in the form of a pandemic. We face 50 years of really big problems relating to climate change, and the nature of that threat to countries around the world means that this has to be one of the things that is absolutely on every government's agenda." Sir Patrick said there is no way we can pretend that it isn't happening, and every minister responsible for this thought, "Oh yes, we can." Professor Belcher, which is his actual name, by the way, not something I made up that sounds like the release of greenhouse gas, he presented data showing how the Earth's biosphere, cryosphere and oceans have been significantly changed by human action. One of those three things is something that he made up. Cryosphere, my eye. He presented data showing that the Earth's biosphere, cryosphere, like that. He said the extent of the Arctic sea ice has declined by 12% over the last four decades. And he said that by the 2060s we may lose an area greater than the combined size of Bangladesh, Bhutan and India, wherever they are. DEFRA's Professor Henderson, meanwhile, cautioned that extreme heat waves like the one affecting the UK this week risks harming food production via heat stress and diseases like potato blight. Oh, blimey, I hope I don't get that. He warned that the UK's coastal defences may struggle in the face of rising sea levels. Can you imagine how big the vaccination would be if you caught a potato blight? I mean, the one for the mad bad disease is bad enough. He warned that the UK's coastal defences may struggle in the face of rising sea levels, that the current rate of emissions reductions is still too slow to hit government's net zero goals, that lifestyle changes will be needed to combat climate change, as technological advances will not be capable of sufficiently reducing greenhouse emissions, that we're all in great danger and we need to act now. And the captain of this ship was below deck in the rumpus room, judging a naughty nurse competition in the ship's disco.
Yeah. Wait.
I mean, what a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
I don't know, dear. I only work here. Dan texts, "We don't want a circus anymore. We want boring. MPs should be boring," says Dan.
Boring!
It means that they are actually doing their job rather than fluff and shuffling papers and pleasing wealth that wants a piece of the country. We need boring. Boring for a change would be so refreshing, says Dan. Boring, Bodge.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He hasn't got it in him. Patrick tweets, "It's obvious that you should have worked it out by now, Nick. They've all seen how much the worst Prime Minister in history, Theresa May, earns on the Speaker circuit. It's money for old rope, so get in to be PM, get thrown out after a couple of years, and then earn a fortune." Yet they all earn a fortune. Don't they get £500,000 a year in order to buy paper clips and... I think they do. Don't they get £500,000 a year to buy paper clips? Ex-Prime Ministers. From us poor dopes who pay taxes. I think that's true. Altex, I think the TV debate was pretty amateurish and they predictably said delivery, focus and trust a lot. Tobias Ellwood should have been there because he has been the only Tory talking sensibly about joining the single market and providing greater support for Ukraine. Well, if he's talking sensibly, then that rules him right out. That's why Tom Tugendhat, he ain't got no chance. He'll be out in his neck at the next round. Betcha. And then we'll be left with Dozy, Beaky, Deaky, Mick and Tit, wherever it goes. Grumpy, Snoozy, Dopey and Loopy. 0345 6060 973. Yorkshire, hello Mike.
Hi Nick, yeah. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Good. Couple of bits. Did you see Steve Barclay after the Cobra meeting today?
No.
came marching out and he said, yeah, we've got this heat wave thing under control, and the A&E and the ambulances. What we're going to do is appoint more call handlers.
Yeah, that'll work.
Well, that's brilliant. So instead of waiting 3 minutes to be told that the ambulance will be there in 4 hours,
yes,
you're now going to be told after 30 seconds
that it's going to be there in 4 hours. It's like the I heard on the news coming in that the Edinburgh Airport, I think it's Edinburgh Airport. If it isn't, then I apologise. But what I took from it was that Edinburgh Airport is closing down its complaints line because people are ringing them up and asking them where's my luggage. And so in order to fix that problem of too many people calling up their complaints line, they're closing the complaints line. Problem solved.
If you go on to the wacky races that's going on,
yeah.
Did you see Penelope Pitstopper's been saying that the other people are playing dirty, and she doesn't like it? They're using sneaky accusations to foil her, but she's going to rise above it.
Mm. Yeah, as long as she can find a way out of the room, she'll be straight on it. Yeah.
Absolutely, but the other thing, you were talking about Fishy and his search for perfection earlier on. Well, in the construction industry, you get tradesmen on site and they'll do a job, but they can't leave it alone. They have to fiddle with it, and try and get it just that bit better. And usually they make it worse.
Right.
And the saying on site is, you've got to know when to walk away. And it just suddenly struck me, this regime, Fishy, Johnson, the lot, don't know when to walk away.
Yeah, well, they should pencil in walking away immediately in their diary.
Bye-bye.
Anytime soon would be very, very good indeed. Yeah, like artists. Artists find it difficult to know when to stop. And if nothing else, Rishi Sunak certainly is an artist. Thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. Mick texts, why can't we deal with extreme weather? Heatwave, snow, hurricanes. When it's too hot, trains can't operate. Train tracks are not safe. Snow on the tracks isn't safe. Leaves on the tracks not safe. The rest of Europe must be laughing at the British government for the poor organisation and dealing with extreme circumstances that we're so far behind. We're in Narnia compared to the rest of Europe. Right. Yeah. I bet if Liz Truss tried to get into Narnia, she'd get lost in the blooming wardrobe. She'd have a fight with one of the coats. Matt texts, as a union member, I would rather my subscriptions do not go to the Labour Party funded by the political levy. I would prefer it going to improving employee rights and conditions. Well, right. But it does, though, doesn't it? I mean, under normal circumstances, a Labour Party would fight to improve employee rights and conditions. I mean, I know we're not living under normal circumstances. Absolutely everybody's about to go on strike. I've got full details. Don't you worry about that. Southend, hello, Linda.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Linda.
I'm a first-time caller.
Oh,
but,
welcome along.
Me and my partner, we really like your show.
Oh, thanks, Linda. Cheers, my dear.
We're usually playing Scrabble. We play Scrabble usually when we listen to you.
What's your favourite word?
Favourite word? Oh, I don't know if I can say that, Nick.
Right.
Anyway, I'm going back a little bit now.
Yeah.
It's when you was watching Glastonbury on telly.
Yes.
And you said that Paul McCartney was on there and he was really good. Rock and roll!
He was really good, yeah.
Well, I mean, we're roughly about the same age. Did you ever go on Top of the Pops at all?
Did I go on Top of the Pops?
Yeah, in the crowd, dancing and that. Did you ever go on there?
Not on Top of the Pops. There was a very short-lived soul show called... No, it wasn't Soul Train, because that's American. But there was I can't remember what it was called, but I was in the audience for that. I was doing...
I don't know that one.
I was doing the disco dancing.
Oh, what?
Yeah, look at me move.
I can't see that, I'm afraid. Anyway, I actually met Paul McCartney.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He was on Top of the Pops.
How was he?
And yeah, it was really, really good.
I'm glad you
really
said
good.
that. Yeah. So, but what was
a few
he?
years ago now.
Well, what was he? What was he like as a person?
Yeah, he was really nice, really down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually shorter than I thought he would be.
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah, I
How
thought he was
short
tall,
is he?
About 5'6", I'd say.
Is he?
5'7". Yeah, he's not very tall.
That surprises me.
And I actually got his autograph.
Oh, you want to keep a hold of that, Linda?
Do you think that would be ever worth anything?
I do. What did he autograph? Money?
He just yeah, just his name. Just put his name there. That was all.
On what?
On just a piece of paper.
Oh, a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's certainly worth something, I reckon. You want to keep it until he passes on. Shh,
yeah.
Don't say anything
You
to
think
anybody.
so?
Yeah.
Actually met Status Quo as well.
Oh yeah.
Did you like them?
I
Did you
tried.
like those?
How could you not like Status Quo? Heads down, no nonsense, mindless boogie. I tried to sell a jacket to I can't remember what his name is. The blonde one. I don't think he's with us anymore.
Oh yeah.
What's the name of the blonde one?
Rick Parfitt, wasn't it? Was it Rick Parfitt?
Rick Parfitt's the one with the really straight hair, isn't he? There was the one with the curly hair. I can't remember what his name was. But anyway, I tried to sell him a jacket. For a brief period, someone was daft enough to give me a job as a shop assistant in a top person's clothes store, for which I was uniquely unsuited. And I tried to sell him a jacket. I said to him, "Oh, this will be good for you because you can just chuck it in a washing machine when you're on tour," as though the multi-millionaire guitarist from Status Quo was going to do his own washing. Foolish child.
Another one we met was the Pet Shop Boys. I won't say too much about them.
Yeah, no.
They weren't the best of friendly people.
Well, I'm not remotely interested in the Pet Shop Boys, Linda. I can't express in words how totally uninterested I am in the Pet Shop Boys. I just don't care. You had me on Status Quo though, Linda, and Paul McCartney. All right, cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that Paul McCartney thing again. Got it on tape. Very, very good indeed. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that it was probably the best headline act I've seen, either in person or on the telly from Glastonbury. I mean, I went there about 10 years straight from 1982 onwards. Missed a couple of years here and there, but it was about 10 years, up until like the mid-90s. I don't really remember very many acts that I saw. I do know that some years I went there and I didn't see a single band because there's just so much else to do. You buy your ticket before you know who's going to be there, and if you look at the lineup on the stage and you think, nah. So you just mooch off to somewhere else and get lost in a field somewhere. Yeah, there were some years I didn't see one single band, but. Yeah, I reckon the Paul McCartney set was the best headliner I ever saw there. Either in person or on TV. We love you, Paul. Matt texts, as a union leader, I would rather my subscription... Oh, no, I read that. Yeah, I know you would rather your subscriptions do not go to the Labour Party funded by the political levy, Matt. I know that. Archie says, why would anybody want to inherit the running of a burning wreck of a country? Saviour syndrome. So many people in the UK want to save us from ourselves. They presume to know more about our unique lives than we do. Woke wars in your terms. Well, I'm not sure any of that actually qualifies as woke wars, but we're going to be hearing a lot about the woke wars for the next couple of years, believe me. But I do not know why anybody would want to inherit the running of this burning wreck of a country, because it's not going to get better anytime soon, is it? I mean, whoever takes over is taking over a dumpster fire, and without the ability to put it out. So you'd have to think, well, why are they doing it? What are they in it for? And it has to be the money. Honey, it's got to be the money and the power. Drunk on it they are. Because, once you've had the top job, then, like I said, I think you get £500,000 a year. I'm willing to be corrected about that. But it's not a very well publicised emolument. But we bung them £500,000 a year, as far as I'm aware, to, organise their affairs. Forever. What a racket, eh? And, and of course they can monetise their position, having been the leader of the country. Which is why Bodger was so upset at leaving under a cloud. Oh, here we go. Here's the news. All former Prime Ministers are entitled to an allowance of up to £115,000 a year to cover the cost of their ongoing public engagements. Well, what public engagements? Does that include expenses?
I think so.
You think so?
Yes.
Is that a no?
Yes.
0345 6060 973. Well, it's 150. Okay, so let's say it's 115 grand a year. That ain't bad for not doing nothing, is it? Plus the money that they get as a speaker. I mean, like Bodge has got one speech. He shows up wherever he goes late and goes, "Paw, where am I?" And then he reads the same blooming speech every single time for at least a 5-figure sum. And having been PM, he could, of course, added another 0 on the end and pack those speeches in for probably 5 a week. But going under a cloud, as he is at the moment, probably less money coming his way. Oh well, Bodge, never mind. Better luck next time.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Yeah!
A big sack of monkey nuts.
That's what we're dealing with here. A big sack of monkey nuts. The fatuous 5. It's down to 5 now. Pretty soon it's going to be just the gruesome twosome. Who will it be? Place your bets. David texts, Rick Parfitt had the blonde curly hair and Francis Rossi had long straight hair. Yeah, I tried to sell a jacket to Rick Parfitt. And he said...
No.
Why would anybody be daft enough to give me a job selling clothes in a top person's clothes store? The hell is that about? Mark texts. These, by the way, I think are still texts from last night. I've only got, let's see, 15 pages of them left. 15 pages of text that I didn't get around to last night. I am very bad at my job.
Correct.
Mark says, give it a rest, Nick. Jeremy Corbyn was your god. That's how in touch you are with the country. Mark is one of those extremists who think that unless you love Boris Johnson, you love Jeremy Corbyn. You're an idiot, Mark, and I mean that in a helpful way. Peter texts, so the unions are bad. If the Tories had their way, they would strip all of our civil rights, rip up an international agreement that was signed only 2 years ago. They also would love it if they could legislate to stop anyone protesting, striking, and actually having any voice, apart from voting every 5 years. Well, including voting every 5 years, Peter. I think it's way more sinister than even you think. The unions aren't bad. Who said the unions are bad? Not on this show. Not from me, anyway. What I think is really interesting is the way that the entire country seems to have fallen in love with Mick Lynch. And you look at the offshore billionaire right-wing press, and they print pictures of Mick Lynch, making him look like, well, making him look like the devil or a Nazi or some absolutely unhinged, furious, shouting bloke. Pretty much the opposite of what we've all seen on TV, where he very, very calmly and very, very casually unravelled his inquisitor into their constituent parts and left them a bubbling heap on the ground. Because he talks a bit like that, people think that he's like politicians, conservative politicians think, oh, I can take him on, no problem at all. Big mistake, huge. So, yeah, people, it's really interesting because in previous periods of unrest, dispute, the line that the unions are enemies of the people has gone down pretty well, actually. I mean, people have thought, yeah, that is quite right. These people, these socialists who are asking for more money, who do they think they are? Kind of forgetting the part about the people actually being among those people who are getting ripped off by the, their bosses and their companies and the government. So it's been pretty successful to actually make the working class and the ordinary working person fight with themselves, while the CEOs award themselves ever larger bonuses, and I bet they even wake up laughing. But this time around, not really. Interesting. And there's going to be so many strikes. I mean, they're just more and more seem to be called on a daily basis. Now the leader of the nurses' union has threatened to strike. over Bodger Johnson's planned 5% public pay sector rise. She branded it not remotely acceptable. The Royal College of Nursing set out a case for a 16% pay rise. That's 5% above the current 11% level of inflation, saying their hard work warrants better. Yeah, and I don't know what they're complaining about. I mean, Bodger himself gave them a round of applause when the cameras were on him for a few minutes 2 summers ago. What more could they possibly want? The government's going to agree pay rises of just 5% for 2.5 million public sector workers, which includes nurses and teachers, police, civil servants, members of the armed forces. That's what a cabinet minister told the Financial Times. Due to high levels of inflation, this would be a significant real terms pay cut for nurses and other public sector workers, however. And the cabinet minister who said that will, of course, be on £84,000 a year, plus £67,000 a year for being a cabinet minister, plus £250,000 a year in expenses, and they've just accepted a £2,200 pay rise. But they can't afford to give you anything because that wouldn't be fiscally prudent.
Oh, fabulous.
The Royal College of Nurses General Secretary Pat Cullen said millions of optimistic workers will be hoping that these crushing reports are entirely inaccurate. Said their work and current personal hardship warrants better from the government. She said there's tens of thousands of vacant nurse jobs, and this treatment pushes more out of the profession. Again, applause. Remember that? We banged saucepans and everything. Meanwhile, the usual government response to industrial action, painting the union leaders as enemies of the people, isn't working. Because the people agree with the strikers. This is like a revelation, really. This is brand new. I can't ever remember this before. It may have something to do with the fact that we're all suffering, all sick of being taken advantage of, and we're not falling for those old lines anymore. Now we know how much the ruling party value money after the 800 quid-a-roll wallpaper and the billions chucked at mates and donors in COVID contracts and the selling off of the country from beneath our feet. It's like we've just come round from a 12-year stupor. Wake up, sheeple, it's later than you think. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Middlesbrough. Hello, Terry.
Hi there, Nick.
Terry.
I was ringing to talk about the guy from Preston. I just wanted to help with a little bit of understanding.
The guy from where?
The guy from Preston who amused you with his talking about hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what it is, I'm originally from just outside Preston, and it's part of the Lancashire accent. My kids laugh at me sometimes because what you would
you want to instill some discipline in your household, mate.
No, because instead of saying chair, I say chur.
Chur.
It's the AIR. So he was trying to say hot, and then he was trying to say air, as in AIR.
I know
but
that.
It came out as URR.
I know
it's like
that.
Cilla Black.
You're telling me that as though I don't know it. Of course I know that.
Oh, but right. Because, I mean, Cilla Black, she used to talk about her.
That's right, yeah. No wonder your kids laugh at you. You're stating the blooming obvious.
Well, they've got local accents. They've got, like, pseudo-Geordie accents, and they think I've got a funny accent. But,
I find it fascinating how accents still persist these days, because I get why accents started up, because, little villages hundreds of years ago were virtually isolated from each other. So we sort of spoke English because that was the language of the country, and that was the way in which laws and notices were sent around. But each little habitat had its own way of speaking, and it was reinforced by dint of being enclosed societies because there wasn't much travel. But now, not only do we travel everywhere easily, but accents from all over the world are just poured into wherever you are on the TV and the radio and the internet and so on. And for those accents to still be really strong and really local, I find it's really surprising, actually.
Well, I tell you what I learnt. I learnt something interesting the other day from Mr. James O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
His Mystery Hour. And apparently, the original English accent, the way we used to speak, is actually how Australians speak, because obviously, everybody was sent over to Australia,
Right.
and once in Australia, they were speaking in the normal English accent, and there was no other influences, whereas obviously back in the UK, we've got the influences from Europe and all over. And so that rather strange accent they have down there in Australia, that's the original English accent.
Well, I don't wish to pick a fight with James O'Brien, but I kind of doubt that. I mean, that doesn't sound right. But that everybody in this country used to talk and go up at the end of a sentence?
Well, how else do you explain it? I mean, everybody was shipped off down there, weren't they? I mean, Captain Cook, he discovered it, and and then we used to actually send people down there for stealing a loaf of bread, didn't we?
Well, maybe one of the criminals that we sent to Australia had some kind of speech impediment, and it caught on. No offence to Australians, you sound fantastic to me.
Well, I felt a bit of a fool because you were actually speaking earlier, but about the way things are going with people not being prepared to put up with meagre wage increases and things. You were eruditely speaking about Mick Lynch pulling people apart and all this, and then I thought, I'm sat here waiting to talk about saying instead of air.
Well, I like the stuff that's off the wall more than the serious. It floats my boat. Don't worry about that. Good work, Terry. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, when I do my abnormal normal show on Sunday, then we deal with the issues. I mean, we deal with the issues on my abnormal normal shows on Friday and Saturday night. But if you can walk me down a different avenue, then I'll gladly follow. Lucas says, bought a tropical berry tree that demands heat to grow. Timing couldn't be better. One tiny acerola berry has as much vitamin C as 10 oranges. No, it doesn't. I don't know anything about that or any other subject, Lucas, but I'm guessing that no, it doesn't. Plus, what's an acerola berry? Antex, Tom Tugendhat is the Rory Stewart candidate this time around, the only one with any decency and not a snowball's chance in hell.
Correct.
Yeah, he'll be out in his ear the next round. I betcha. He's the only one that, in moments of quiet reflection, it doesn't sound like this in his head. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I should remind you that we do, I do 3 podcasts. One's the one with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
One is the one we do, the Friday and Saturday night shows, we put them out as a podcast. And there's one called the Nick Abbott Habit, which is clips from old shows. It's a best of. That's about half an hour. Comes out on Mondays. And it's of old shows. And I'm trawling through. It's just the funny bits. All the boring bits, we throw all of those away. Hour after endless hour of boring show, we throw that away. And we just clip out the funny bits. And when I say we, I mean me. With my own sticky fingers, I put it together. And it's kind of interesting for me to listen to the shows to get the clips from, because it's from just over 2 years ago when we were just starting our relationship with the Invisible Bat Menace. And the stuff that we were talking about then, it just seems so odd now, how we were discussing the thing then, just as it was coming on, from the position now, having gone through all of that. Yeah, it is interesting. It's almost like an historical document. In fact, it is. I'd say that it actually is, because it's how we were feeling at the time, with reading about all this stuff that was happening elsewhere and what the missteps the government were going through.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But don't worry, it's not depressing. It's just the funny bits, but it is interesting to hear it now, knowing what subsequently happened. It's called The Nick Abbot Habit. It's on Global Player. Well, everything is on Global Player. All the stations that we do, all the podcasts that we do. You absolutely should have that in your life. Stick it up your device. You'll find it in your favourite app store, Global Player. But the podcast I'm talking about is called The Nick Abbot Habit. If you do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbott Podcasts, it will all appear as though by magic.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Some nobody.
0345 6060 973. There's research suggests that public support for industrial action has risen sharply for pretty much everybody that's considering doing it, which is new to me. I mean, I've been through periods of strikes before, and the people have generally been against the strikers because they've been persuaded by the newspapers, calling them enemies of the people and all of the rest of it. But that's not working anymore. Just like Bodger's act isn't working anymore. Like, suddenly, he was on stage, doing his thing, paw! And the laughs were not coming, evident in their absence. And I think they're all, them and the offshore billionaire newspaper barons, they're all sort of looking at each other going, well, hang on a minute, our tricks aren't working. What's going on? So the public support for industrial action has risen sharply for nurses, which is a big surprise because, we do rely on them. For nurses, there's a public support for industrial action. For the train workers and everybody else calling the regime out on the misery that they've engineered for us poor dopes who pay taxes. I mean, they must be terrified that their old tricks of distraction and division are not working anymore. All that old flannel about enemies of the people, it's not cutting through. Just like Bodger's, paw! That's not doing it either. I mean, they must be sizing up the fixtures and fittings and deciding what they can unscrew and make off with before they're all chucked out. I say we call security. Escort them out of the building and search their bags on the way out. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Croydon. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Nick.
Martin.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Awesome. I'm a first-time caller and I'm a very extremely long-time listener.
Oh, thanks.
And I was just wondering if you have any advice or tips on how to handle this heat wave, which is only going to increase.
Yeah, you should come over to my flat because it's blooming freezing most of the time, so it will be a nice, cool 60 degrees.
Well, no, I'll take that, but it's looking like it's increasing to, higher temperatures next week. And
I looked where I live, and it was like 98, and then I looked in the centre of London, where I'm sitting now. I'll have one moment, please. 103. Wow.
Yeah. Any advice on that? Any tips?
Yeah, move to Dubai. It's cooler.
Really?
I can check on that. Hang on a minute. Dubai. I've got that on here somewhere. Oh, no, I haven't. Well, let's just see. Dubai. I'd be interested. D-U-B-A-I. Dubai. No, 109. Wow. Why would anybody live 112, 111, 107 every blooming day?
But a lot of people are struggling with the heat and.
Yeah. Actually, I do have advice. If you've got a house with if you put a built up into the attic, and you've got a window up there, what I used to do, which really, really worked in the place that I used to live in, is keep all the windows downstairs closed and open the very, very top window in the house. If you've got like a roof light. You know what I mean? Like one of those... Yeah, if you just open that, it sucks all the hot air up and out, and it keeps it really cool.
Mega. All right, I'll try that.
Mega. Groovy. All right, thanks a lot, Martin. 0345 6060 973. That is a really good tip. It seems like fairly obvious, but if you haven't tried it, open the uppermost window in your place. This doesn't work if you've got a flat. But if you've got a house and you built up into the roof, even if I guessed that you haven't got a window up there, you just like open the the flap that you can get up into the attic. You just open that, then I bet the air will get sucked out, leaving cooler air down below. And you can thank me no, wait. I've changed my mind. You can thank me now.
Thank you.
Eamon texts, if you had an iPhone, it can identify plants and trees. And that would be cool. He says, the app's called Picture This. The stuff that mobile phones can do, they can't actually make phone calls yet. Not that you can be heard on, but, the other stuff, marvellous. They can identify what birds are singing as well. Marion says, totally agree with you about Tom Tugendhat. I've been very impressed with him since hearing him interviewed weeks ago on the radio, although I am not a Conservative voter, says Marion. Yeah, he's the only one that seems like relatively normal. So he's going to be right out. The old duffers in their beige action slacks that they bought from an advert in the back of the Daily Telegraph, they're not going to like him at all. Liverpool, hello Joey.
Hiya mate, you're okay? Good evening.
Good,
good morning.
Yes.
Yeah, regarding this heat wave that's coming in, as you presented said there before, stay in.
I am the
don't
presenter.
Go out, don't get sunburn, plenty of water, make sure your head's covered so you don't get sunstroke, because that's terrible that. Well, people must know this thing anyway, mustn't they?
That makes perfect sense to me. Thanks a lot, Joey. 0345 6060 973. I thought I'd dip out of that really quick because, I've got warning bells ringing in my mind.
Warning, warning.
Use the force. That's what I do. Use your gut feeling. Use the force. Martin emails, please don't use such long words. Thanks. What words? I don't use long words. What long words do I use? Sue says, I'm with you on the state of the trees. We have lime trees at the back of us and the leaves are falling off already. This usually happens in September. Yeah, well, I think that we got to the bottom of that. It was some horse chestnut trees. They got some sort of disease. I don't know about lime trees. Isn't it weird that you don't get limes from lime trees? What's that about? Lorraine says, could someone prick that Westminster bubble, as none of them get that we have a cost of living crisis? Yeah, they didn't really mention any of that, did they? It's all about I love my country more than you do, and wrapping themselves in flags and an excess of bunting and bulldogs and Spitfires. God, will we ever in this country stop going on about World War II? For crying out loud. It's like we've not done anything since. Josh says, hoping for a Labour win in the general election, I would have been quite happy to have left his bodginess in situ. With him gone, I think 2 years of a brains trust-led government will serve my needs just as well. Yeah, I mean, just for amusement's sake, it would be kind of interesting to have Liz Truss at the top, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. The problem with that is the damage that a person like that could do in 2 years. I mean, it would be perhaps funny, because she is a little bit robotic.
Affirmative.
For a human being. But, what she would do and who she would put in what position, it would be amusing, but a little bit alarming at the same time. We might not survive it. See, if it was Tom Tugendhat, then it wouldn't be so amusing. It would be kind of, stolid and a little bit dull. I mean, perhaps we need a little bit dull. But the problem there is, I think, at the moment, the bus we're on, imagine we're on a bus, and it has been painted in comedy clown colours.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I mean, there's stars and rainbows and unicorns and all sorts painted on the outside of this bus, like we're on the way to the circus. Now, you can paint the bus a boring beige, and you can change the driver, and you can stop swerving all over the road, with like it is with his imperial bodginess. Wheels on the bus go round and round, Bodge. Exactly. But the bus wouldn't actually be going to a different destination. We'd still be going the same way. It would just be a little less of a clown show while we're going there. I think it would benefit the other parties to have left Bodge in place. Now there's the possibility of somebody serious taking over, unless it's the Brains Trust, in which please disregard everything I've said on the matter. Or any of the others, really. I mean, we don't know any of the others very well. I think that if we do, we don't. If we don't know them by now, then perhaps we'll never know them. No, we won't. And if we do, then I think we'll come to the conclusion that I suspect. Very, very alarmed indeed. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC. It's 11:30 on LBC. The news headlines here with Dan Wilson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Shut up.
I can't. Dan texts, I don't get all the issues around trams. You know, trams issues. Just hop on and before you know it, you've arrived, says Dan. Well, that just makes sense. Lee emails, I wonder why the Conservative Party are like the Slytherins in Harry Potter. I think they're competing as to who can say the most evil stuff. I heard at Christmas time you were doing a book with letters of the alphabet. Is that right, says Lee? Yes. Yes, Lee, it is. I do the A to Z of the year at Christmas time. And I put it out as a book, all the suggestions that we have, making it an historical document. There are no other collections of, because at the end of the year, all the newspapers and the TV shows and all that, they try to put a list of the year on, you know, an alphabetical list of the year. And it's just one or two people staring at a computer screen trying to remember what's happened, which is no good at all. So what I do is, over the course of about 10 days between Christmas and New Year, I throw it out to the good people of Great Britain and the world. And between us, we come up with the definitive list of the year, which I then put out as a book with my own, write-up of the year as we went along. I'm writing one about this year now. Good grief. It's just a list of embarrassments and catastrophes. It's and so the latest one is called I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. I know it's a pinned tweet on my Twitter account. It's something about tea, I think. I'd have to look it up. But it's on Amazon in paperback and download form. Ask for it on Amazon by name, whatever that name is. I'll look it up. Stanwell. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good stuff. Yeah, a couple of things. First thing, do you agree with me that the next Prime Minister will cut aid to Ukraine? As as far as I'm concerned, Boris only gave as much aid as he did because, the whole saga with Partygate and whatever else.
Well, that's why he kept going over there, is because every time he got into some scrape over here, he departed the country. He left in a hurry to go where people actually did like him, and then they like him over there because they don't know him very well.
That's right. And the other thing you alluded to just a minute ago when you spoke about the contracts for COVID, when the inquiry comes out, will there be a forensic accounting of all of the people that were given the slipway to get these contracts? Will there be accounting on the companies and their accounts and what it was spent on and how much was spent and how much they've got left?
Michael, you know as well as I do that at the end of it, they'll spend £50 million on an inquiry into what went on and who got what, and the only thing that comes out of it is that they will say lessons must be learned, and that'll be the end of it.
Okay, but surely the public deserves to know if these companies have still got money in their account.
They do deserve, and what we will get is lessons must be learned, and that will be the end of it. You know that that's what's going to happen.
Well, the thing is, I can't see why Keir Starmer isn't sort of demanding, or if he gets into power, that he's going to make sure that there is a inquiry into all of the accounts.
Exactly right. I don't know why either, but lessons must be learned will be the end of it.
Okay.
I
all
betcha,
right.
betcha. Yeah, as disappointing as it sounds, that's where we're going, because it's always what happens. You know, some outrage occurs and they spend tens of millions of pounds of our money looking into it, and nothing ever happens. Lessons must be learned. I don't know why they bother. I could save them all of that money and tell them what's going to happen right now. No one's going to go to jail. We're not going to get any of that money back. No one's going to be